So, I don't know. I'm here because I was asked to come here by Yael. Where is she? Hiding somewhere. And so I said, yeah, I mean, whenever somebody asks me to come and talk about what the Buddha said or what we study in Buddhism, and then if I have an opportunity, then I go. So, not because I'm on a mission, by the way, not because I want to convince you that this is the only way that to live a happy life or something like that, but in order to share these views and thoughts. And then if you want to adapt them or if you want to use them, then you use them. If you think it's total nonsense, then you just leave it. No need to get angry also. It's just views. So I asked her, I said, what do you think that I should talk about? Because there's many, many topics. Like the purpose of the Buddhist practices is to attain a state which is totally free from all suffering. So, like no stress, no frustration, total awareness of what is there and not an awareness of what we think is there, kind of really knowing what is illusion, what is reality, not so much caught into only my reality is the true reality and everybody else's reality, especially if the view is opposed, is not true. To let go of all these things and having a mind, actually a mind state. And when I talk about mind, it's not the brain. Okay, like you can put mind and heart together maybe. For the Buddhists, it's the same thing. Like they talk about heart, but they talk about mind. But the mind has many factors. Like the mind has perceptions, forms, sound, smell, taste, touches, and has thoughts. The mind also has sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. The mind also has mental factors that in the West we call them emotions. In Buddhism we call them mental factors. Something that moves the mind. Some of them are positive, meaning they lead to happiness. Some others, they are negative, meaning they lead to suffering. Why is it called to positively to happiness or well-being? Because everybody has a very natural instinct of wanting to be comfortable and happy. And everybody has a very natural instinct of wanting to avoid suffering. Even masochists who want to suffer, why do they want to suffer? What do you think? Because they want to be unhappy? No. Even they suffer to take the suffering as a means in order to achieve well-being. Let's call it well-being. Happiness is an expression that has kind of a little bit lost its value, I think. It's kind of, just la-di-la, a little bit stoned, and I don't care. Even Buddhists can go that way, saying, I don't care, everything is impermanent, everything is empty, who cares? Yeah, so like this. So this is what we study, this what is called the mind. What is it made up of? How does it react? And so on. And the goal is a very high goal, which is said is a mind that is at the height of its normality. Now, normality not in terms of norm, like everybody's like this, but normality in terms of that would be normal or natural. Meaning a mind that reaches out to all others, whether they're nice people or not nice people, whether they are, insignificant insects or very big elephants or human beings or prime ministers or beggars or drug addicts or whatever. Reaches out, if one can help, at least the wish for them to be free from suffering or having well-being, and having absolutely no thought of anger, hate, rejection, and all this. So that is the Buddhist goal. Now this is not really what we learn in Christianity. This is where I grew up. I don't know what you learn in Judaism. Actually, Christianity, maybe yes. I think Christianity also does go a bit in that direction. because, you know, it has quotes or saying like you should love the ones who deserve it the least because they need it the most. So, and things like that. Forgive your enemy, because forgiving your friends or loving, liking your friends, that is too easy. So learn to love your enemies. So this is actually, it's a little bit the same way. It's true, sorry. I haven't really studied Christianity. My parents were not religious, so I don't know much about it. It's only sometimes when I say something I become aware of, oh, that's not true. So it's not true. Christianity goes that way. But as far as I know, one is not really given very precise tools or a structured practice how to develop that kind of very, very high state of mind, to have an open heart towards your enemy, to wish your enemy all the happiness in the world and having absolutely no thought of revenge. You know, this is a very high goal. It sounds very nice and is very noble, but how to have such a mind, maybe it was my disinterest in Christianity, I don't know. But I don't think there's so many precise instructions. In Buddhism, they're there. A very structured way, how to bring your mind from me here, the center of the universe, to everybody is equal. Everybody has a right to be happy. And not just a thought, but an attitude. The same way as now we have an attitude, of course my well-being is important, and of course I do everything in order to get it, isn't it? You don't have to think about this attitude in the morning when you get up. It's there. And then you include, well, usually one would say you include your family. If nothing big has happened. That starts to, oh yeah, family, yes, but these no. Yeah. If you have a harmonious relationship in the family, you would include all your family members into that instinct, almost, isn't it? That when you see they're happy, it makes you happy. When you see they suffer or they're not happy, if you can do something about it, you put effort into doing something. The same way as we put effort into the same, no, it's okay. I know that you're worried about my feet, but don't worry, my feet are perfectly okay. Thank you.
You're amazing.
So, well, you know, I used to have a restaurant. So, or not, I think, you train the mind to see everything that's going on when you have a restaurant, isn't it? And this habit sticks with you for a long time. I wish I wouldn't have it, because I see too many things that it's none of my concern, I don't need to know, I could just let it be, and you must have the same mind also. This is mind training. This is what we do in Buddhism. Training the mind towards a certain goal. And not just because, you know, when you have this job like Renata's a manager of a big kibbutz with many guests coming, or not like having a restaurant. You don't do it consciously, but because you know it's a necessity, then you just do it, and the mind by itself, you don't need to meditate on that. The mind starts to get trained in that direction and gets these qualities. And that's it. So actually it's a very good example, because this shows us if we just repeat doing the things, then the mind by itself goes in that direction. So this is why I knew you were worried about my feet, because I saw it. I saw you looking at my feet, and I saw you going to Itzik because he, you know, he didn't want to go and look for a cushion or something, so you thought he can go. Because he's our problem solver, by the way. If you want to have a professional problem solver, he is Itzik. And he does it very joyfully and not obsessively. Okay, those are not obnoxious, because some problem solvers are obnoxious. Anyway, so this is what one is trying to do, to create that mind. Now there's some people who say, no, thank you very much. I don't want to be able to work for the benefit of my enemies so that they're happy, or will have well-being. Now, you see, we're not talking about worldly happiness. We're not talking about happiness that comes from, for example, harming others, which can produce a certain form of, in my eyes, perverse happiness. But one is trying to to live the potential that we all have to have an open heart towards all beings. Now, if your son or daughter, how many of you have children? Oh good, so you can definitely relate to that. If your son or daughter would plan a criminal act, it can happen. I think, again, before I continue with these things, when we talk about karma or actions, the teachings have to be used as a mirror, and actually not just that, all the teachings. The teachings are meant, or the instructions, they're meant for you, not what others do with them. Because what others do, what goes on in their mind, we don't know. Yeah? Because when I say this, in this country, I feel that there is some resistance. And yes, but when I say nobody raises, are you raising your parents, your children to be criminals? No. Do you think parents are raising their children to be criminals? In general? I don't think so. So anyway, but it can happen that children become criminals, because all children have parents. So how would you feel? Would you throw out that child out of your heart? No. You would be able to separate the action from the person. You would be very concerned about this child who is planning something. You would do everything in order to prevent it. You might, even if you have reasonable compassion, call the police and tell them, please do something about this, because I don't know, or go and try to help from a psychiatrist or psychologist or social worker or whatever, in order to prevent that child from doing the action. So having compassion and loving kindness and all this, it doesn't mean that you say, oh, I love my child so much. Well, what can I do? He or she wants to do this negative action. It looks as if that is the goal and it will make him or her happy. Would you react like this? No. Okay. So this is what we have, this attitude already. We can understand there is idiot compassion, where you just let everybody do whatever they want to do. Or you have wise compassion, where you know, no, I have to set borders. Because why? Because you see, okay, it might cause some happiness in the mind of the child, but it will not cause lasting happiness. And the happiness that it will create is perverse happiness. I don't want my child to have this kind of happiness that comes from harming others. So with children, our children, we would be able to do it, but it already stops when it's the children of others. Isn't it? Then we think they are inherently bad. And what bad parents that they allow them to do these things and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we would, maybe a first thought we would go there. Then the second thought would be, well, it could be my child. How would I feel as a parent? My anger towards the parents and my judging the parents, is that helpful in that situation? See, if we start to reflect like this, we start to identify ourselves as a parent, how a parent feels, then we might be more skillful in our reaction. Either we leave them alone, or we show some sympathy or something like that. Do you understand what I mean? Okay. So the mind of a fully awakened being, the word Buddha, in Buddhism everybody tries to become Buddha. You know, it's a long journey, it's really difficult, so don't think it's easy. One needs a lot of patience, one needs to have a lot of instructions, one needs to go to a lot of courses, one needs a master, one needs a sangha, like people who do the same thing with you, other you get discouraged, and one needs self-love. Not judging yourself all the time, not putting yourself down all the time, not having already now, because we know we're not Buddhists, we're not awakened, the word Buddha means awakened, yeah? Not putting ourselves down every time we make mistakes and going, wow, you're so stupid. Yes, you're stupid, so what? You know, if you would be more intelligent, you wouldn't have made the mistake, but you made the mistake, so you're stupid. It's okay to be stupid. From stupid we can change to intelligent by not being too tense about these mistakes and just look at them with a relaxed mind and say, well, yeah, I made a mistake. Okay, what can I do now? Yeah? When we start to do this with ourselves, what is interesting, we start to allow others to make mistakes, and life becomes so much easier. We wouldn't have to hide them anymore. There's no fear of somebody finding out I make the mistake. See how much time is being spent just trying to find who is to blame. What's the point? There's a problem here. So instead of going kind of, there's a problem, what shall we do now? We go into, who did it? Who is to blame? And all this. It doesn't help. It just blocks, brings anger and, oh, not me. Now, just to warn you, now we're not going to talk about this in this morning or this day, but if you continue with the practice, karma is one of the lowest steps. The law of cause and effect, to know about the law of cause and effect, is one of the lowest steps you make in this structured practice. The first thing you need to know. Yeah? No, it's not true. The second thing. The first thing you need to know that your nature is totally pure. That you have basic goodness, basic spaciousness, basic intelligence that you can never lose. That this is your nature. That you're good, basically. But, there's a but, that goodness is covered. So you don't have to develop the goodness. You just have to get rid of whatever is covering it. Which means negative emotions. Which means wrong views of, I'm not good. That's the wrong view. Do you think you could start to believe in your fundamental goodness, kindness, love, compassion, wisdom? That it's always there, but sometimes we don't see it because it's covered, same way as clouds cover the clear sky. I see very cynical expression. I should have a camera here, that would be much better. I think it would be much more skillful to film people, and then I have a button here, and then you can see your faces on the screen here. I see a lot of cynical faces when I ask that. Do you believe in your own goodness? Do you believe that you can be perfect? Like never making mistakes? Or let's say, like getting rid of all anger, desire, attachment, greed, hatred. What else do we have there? Jealousy, a deluded pride, arrogance, confusion, panic, the whole basket there. Do you believe that? Do you have a yearning for it? Okay. Where do you think the yearning comes from? Yearning is like a deep pull to be good. We have this pull, we have this yearning. A yearning is a pull, like something almost nostalgic, something almost a little bit mixed with sadness when we sit and we look at these aspirations that we have, or these pullings in the heart. The yearning to be kind, the yearning to be good, the yearning to be skillful in being able to help others with their suffering, to get rid of the suffering. Do you think you have that? Okay, again, think about your children. The yearning to have the skillful means to just say one sentence and they do the things that will prevent them from going into stress, frustration and suffering. Don't you have that yearning? So if you can have it for your children, don't you think you can expand that? And maybe also include other beings into that yearning? Don't you have that trust? And when the yearning is there, to be in contact with that goodness, kindness, how do you feel? Well, how would you describe your state of mind?
Expanded.
Huh?
Expanded. Expanded.
You know, I'm getting old, I can't hear my left ear, so you have to talk really loud.
I feel expanding.
Expanding, exactly. It's not, we're not going into but I don't have it, what shall I do now? We start to get in contact with our nature. We start to get in contact with what is true. You see, we are so attached to truth, right? So, but there's no one truth. There's relative truth, which is relative. It depends on which side you look. So we don't need to fight about what is true and what is not true. For you it might be true, for somebody else not true. So what? Yeah? This is about, when we talk about emptiness, things can be manipulated because there's dualism. It depends from which side you look. And dualism also because long depends on short. If you say, I only want short things, therefore I get rid of the long things, you also get rid of the short things, because if you don't have long, you don't have short. Okay? So when we start to get in contact with that basic nature that we have, we also start to become like, usually the mind goes, but it's not the nature, and makes your problem really big. But then when we start to get in touch with this very natural wish that we have, may they be happy, may they be free from suffering, all of a sudden it opens up. And then becoming more expansive, does it feel good or does it feel bad? This is the Indian response, guys. Still don't know. Okay, feels good, doesn't it? Feels good. Let's do a 1 minute reflection. You don't need to kind of go, just 1 minute or half a minute. Close your eyes. Go inside of your own mind, inside of who you are and what you are. Close your eyes, don't be afraid. Everything that you will see is your own stuff. Don't blame anybody else. So why be afraid of it? If it's your own stuff, it means you can do something with it. We always want to manipulate other people's mind. Now we start to manipulate our own. And then you just think, I am a good person. Finished. Not because, or no I'm not. Or just throw out all other thoughts. Just, I am a good person. And focus on that thought. When other thoughts come up, let them go and go back to, I am a good person. Close your eyes. Don't be afraid. I am a good person. No matter what my ego says, no matter what the world is telling me, I am a good person. I have this yearning to be well, to be free from suffering, and not just for myself, but also for other beings. That's my basic nature of goodness, spaciousness and wisdom. I am a good person. By nature. So what happens when you think that? I know you react well, so I need to look in another direction. What happens? Nothing? When you think that, what happened?
Was there resistance?
There is resistance. people tell us that, we go like, "Ooh, yes, I am a good person." We trust other people more than ourselves. When we have to think it ourselves, there's fear. It's not really resistance, it's fear. So then you have to go deeper. What am I afraid of to think that I'm a good person? Because when you think I'm a bad person, you will be a bad person. If you start to think I'm a good person, so okay, who reacted to the other reaction? So that's one reaction, there's resistance.
I felt a big smile.
Exactly, we just go. So you see the whole thing about Buddhist practice, all these many teachings and many talks and many things, it's all about learning to relax. Because in relaxing, that nature shines through. But when we're tense, it gets more and more covered with these layers. So all these methods are made for that, to relax. But in order to relax, we have to learn to accept the restlessness. If you want to push away the restlessness, you get more restless. If you want relaxation now, you get more restless. So, you see, Buddhism is not getting rid of the bad and only wanting to keep the good, because then you get rid of everything. And you cannot, anyway. They're dependent on each other. Buddhism is about learning to accept things as they are. And things by nature are inherently not good or bad. Good or bad depends on how you look at it. But by nature, no matter from which part you look at it, they are impermanent, changing, untrustworthy. Our pleasures cannot be trusted to bring us every time a good feeling. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. This is why we have to change all the time. If you find pleasure in one piece of music and you keep playing it 24 hours a day, it doesn't take many days when you let go of attachment to that piece of music. Unless it's really deep. Unless it gives you messages that touch your nature. I have pieces of music like that. Some, like few that are very wise and go very deep. Like, for example, Leonard Cohen's Anthem. Anybody knows it? Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. Even I say it, I have tears in my eyes. There's a crack in everything. This is how the light gets in. Like, stop mourning what is not perfect. But ring the bells that still can ring. The ones that are broken, let them be broken. But there's always bells that you can ring that still ring. And instead of planning your perfect offering, offer whatever that is there. There's some imperfection in everything, but through the imperfection we start to see reality. Everything changes. Nothing is perfect. Or Bonnie Tyler's, what's it called? What was it? Total eclipse of the heart. When you have if you're depressed and you listen to that song, you hear that somebody sings about that state. Yeah? Once upon a time I was falling in love, now I'm only falling apart. Nothing to do, and this is it. Instead of fighting your depression, relax. Nothing to do. Total eclipse of the heart. What is an eclipse? Something that covers something that shines. What happens during an eclipse? It is there, it comes, and then it goes. So you might have other songs that you can use, if you like music. Again, do not fall into, especially when we talk about actions, karma, do not fall into this thing. It's a list, although I will give you a list so you can figure it out yourself. It's a list of do's and don'ts. It's a list of allowed and not allowed to. It's not that. It is whatever is useful to bring you closer to your natural state of natural kindness and compassion and wisdom. Use that. And label it spiritual practice. Because as you go along, you will become more and more honest. You see, at the beginning of your practice, you only see your good sides. You think you're perfect, you're fantastic, you tell others, I don't really have anger, I can work with it, I'm not really jealous, I'm concerned about others. People who look at you and listen to you, they go like, wow, she really doesn't know herself. Now, I think it's good. I think that if you don't have the tools yet to work with these negative states of mind, that you have a too good vision of yourself. As you go along, maybe 2 years in your practice, but when I talk about practice, serious practice, being very committed to go to a group once a week, being very committed to sit and look at your mind, to train mindfulness and awareness at least once a day, even if it's just for 2 minutes, but once a day, because these 2 minutes will become longer. To be really committed to study the mind instead of making the environment nicer. Investing time. So if you do that for 2 years, because if you are enthusiastic now, use that first push of enthusiasm, because it will fade. So use it to go to teachings and all this. But again, don't do too much, because otherwise it's like good food, you eat too much of it, you vomit at the end. So, be there. Then after 2 years of this kind of practice, all of a sudden you start to see. You start to see like, wow, I'm just the full of self-cherishing. I thought I had compassion, but actually my compassionate acts are because it will be good for me. Not so much, or because I have to, like duty, I want to keep my good reputation. Or I want something from the other person. I don't want them to see my selfish side, so therefore I kind of, pull up my positive side of being concerned about them. All of a sudden we start to see that. Actually, all I'm interested in is comfort. Enlightened, yeah, it was like a noble word, but actually, I just want to have a better samsara. So you start to see this after 2 years, which is great, because after 2 years, you already have the tools to work with it. If you see it at the beginning, it will destroy you, and you will not want to look at these negative states of mind again and again and again and again, because it discourages you. Okay? So when we talk about the law of cause and effect, let's call it like that. Like karma, many people know the word. We even use it, especially when negative things happen. Or let's say, only when negative things happen. Oh, well, what to do, it's my karma. If you get married in a beautiful place like this, being looked after, Adi, in such a very kind and very thoughtful and very conscientious way, you stand under this thing there, you have found the perfect partner. How many people will think, wow, good karma, right? Nobody, I think. Yeah, isn't it? Have you ever thought about karmic results when good things happen to you also? Really? Wow. Well, you can go home then. You got it. Because karmic actions, it goes 2 ways. But then when you think it's karma ripening, it's like you really have to think, not it's my karma. It's like, this is a result of a positive action that my mind stream has done in the past. When negative things, when we suffer, when things that we don't like so much are ripening, also don't go like, oh, this is my karma, because then it's still something external from us. If negative things are ripening, a positive way, or a skillful way to think about it would go, oh, consequence of negative actions that the mind stream has done in this life or in past lives. This would be a skillful way then it doesn't become so personal. Yeah, also. It is your mind stream, but since we change moment by moment by moment by moment, and we don't know what we were in past lives. We don't know who that person was who created that action, so we don't go like, we don't have to feel guilty, but then we become like the person who says, okay, the result is here. The cause for that mess that is created now has been created in the past, so no need to go back there to look who is to blame, but let's see what we can do now. Okay? So, what else do I need to tell you so that you're warned before we start? It's the law of cause and effect is not a reward and punishment system that was invented by the Buddha or by some higher force. Yeah, it's a law of cause and effect. In order for these effects to ripen, you need a substantial cause. If you want a garden, you need seeds. If you don't believe me, there is a lady sitting there who can tell you the process of how to grow a plant. But the seeds are not enough. You need the conditions for these seeds to ripen, which are earth, warmth, and moisture. So there could have been like seeds of things that crept into these flower seeds that you don't want. Who knows? Sometimes when we are, in our own garden, you collect the seeds, but it could be that also seeds of weeds have gone in. So when you look at the seeds, it's difficult to recognize. But when you put them in your garden, then you recognize what is growing. You need to study. If you let me into your garden and it's just seedlings, well, there's a big chance that everything is gone. Because I love to weed, but I also, when I weed, there's not much left. I love to pull out things. I don't know where that comes from. So I'm very good. It's like so many people don't like this job. I love it because, but I need instructions, very clear instructions from somebody who knows this not and this yes. So this is what the Buddha is doing. They say this is not and this yes. If you want to have happiness, if you want to fulfill that yearning for well-being, then this action yes, but this action no. He doesn't say you're not allowed to do this. It just says, if you leave these seedlings in your mind stream, or if you create these seeds, this is how your garden will look. Now, if you're okay with that, that's fine. If you're not okay with that, then let's see what we can do with it. So it's not a reward or punishment system. You know, if you have seeds of very beautiful flowers, but also seeds of what are they called? Nettles. Nettles came in, and nettles are very strong. So you pull out the nettles. I mean, are the nettles being punished because of being nettles? No, you just don't want them. That's it. Are the flowers being rewarded because they become flowers? No, because the seeds, weeds, nettles, because the seeds came from the same substance of flowers. You can put seeds in your garden, and then you believe in a higher force, and you think, you have no clue what these seeds are. You put them in the garden, and you stand in front of these seedlings, and you start to make prayers. Please, please, please let me have red flowers because I want red flowers. That's not going to work. Even if you pray every day. But if you create the right causes to have red flowers, you will have red flowers. If you don't, you can hope and fear as much as you want. Hope and fear is not going to get you red flowers. The right seeds and the right conditions for them to ripen will give you red flowers. Now with garden, everybody understands that, and everybody accepts it. Like if I had like the perfect earth, and it's warm like here in Israel, and I have enough water, and I keep watering this earth every day, and I sit there and hope for flowers, and I start complaining, well, I don't know, the earth is good, I water it every day, the sun is shining, but nothing grows. conditions are perfect. Then people would think, wow, what an idiot. No. Now with our life, what is happening in our life, and especially with our mental state of unhappiness and happiness, we think it's random. We think it's coincidence. It's exactly the same thing like the flower and the weeds. You want well-being, you need to plant these seeds. And you want a garden that is spacious and has like the things that you want, you need to take out what you don't want in there through purification. We'll talk about this, how that is being done. So this is something you have to let go of, which might be a very, very strong habit of thinking like this. It's a reward and a punishment system. It is not. You're also not the same person that created the seeds in the past, even if it was in this life, because people change moment by moment by moment by moment. When I said, what we have to see in things that we label good or bad, all of them have a common characteristic. It's just a dog, just let him walk around, it's fine. No, let him walk around. Adi, let him walk around. People have to get used not to be distracted by dogs, cats, and this and that. And if nobody pays attention to him, because it's a very good example for mindfulness, if nobody pays attention to him, he will stop being a nutnik. If you pay attention to him, he will not stop. So this is exactly the same with your thoughts. When you practice concentration, if you stop following them, they will stop. They will lose interest. Your ego will lose interest to kind of, they said, oh, she's not interested. Then bring up fear. Oh, she's not even interested in that. Okay, bring up ice cream from Busa. Bring up ice cream from Busa and you see it. Then all of a sudden the awareness comes in and says, hey, no, not now. The shop is not here. The shop is over there. Yeah. No, leave her. Is it here? He or she? Huh? Let her be. It's okay. She'll lose interest. Let her be. Or you want to train her not to come in uninvited. Because this is something we can train. There's distractions going on, because you can train it with outside things, and you can train it, then you can use it in your meditation. Yeah? And it's exactly how an untrained mind does. What I'm saying is going to create well-being, lasting well-being, but when a dog comes in, that's more interesting. And the mind automatically goes there. So this is what the mind does in your mindfulness meditation, because it has the habit of liking to be distracted. Being interested in everything. Our mind is like sticky tape, wherever he puts it, it immediately picks it up, and it picks it up, and it picks it up. So we have to get rid of the glue on the sticky paper by just letting it be. And we can still be very concentrated, but we have to notice it, that the mind goes. So it was very good that the dog came in. Yeah? Because it's a very good example how totally unconcentrated we are. Like that we let ourselves be distracted by every little thing, but that we need to get involved in every little thing. If the baby starts to move or to cry, you're sitting at the back. You should actually come to the front, because